This is Tiny Titans 18 from 1968. This one is the first appearance of the DC character Red Guardian. Not a major character by any stretch of the imagination, but one with enough use to be notable. The most ridiculous thing about this issue is it has two writers, two very well-known and well-regarded comic writers, Wein and Marv Wolfman. And even with two writers at the helm, it is still one of the most low-effort stories someone could tell. I don't mind it, it's fine for what it is, but it is a pretty weak story the minute you start to think of it in terms of any assessment. There is a cat burglar in Sweden who is gunning to steal the crown jewels. So they have called in the Tiny Titans and also a Russian superhero called Red Guardian. The Flask, the Willie West version, he is notably very xenophobic towards Red Guardian. He's like, "Hey, you Russian prick, go back to communist Russia and drink your vodka and write a manifesto, you Russian commie prick." Straight away we get Red Guardian's origin here. He found a spaceship that crashed to Earth and radiation from it gave him his powers. Amazingly, at no point in this issue do they ever bother to say or show what Red Guardian's powers are. I am none the wiser. I think they are some energy powers, mainly because of how he appeared in issues of Pratt's Son. I will also say, if you are curious, Marvel beat them to it by a year. So that is Red Guardian. The cat burglar is a comical French burglar who was pissing by the door. What improved reading this character a lot was I just pretended it was Batroc from Captain America. I started to get a bit of fun out of the Tiny Titans fighting Batroc. My headcanon is, I imagine, after Mr. Hind brutally sodomized them, Batroc decided to go over to DC for a bit. And that is how he came into conflict with the Tiny Titans here. They really lay it on thick how much Willie West hates Red Guardian solely because he comes from Russia. It's kind of scary to see how, even back in the 60s, writers were willing to make characters be intolerant dickheads to make a point. Willie West gets over his prejudices in this issue, and they are never brought up again. You see, lucky for us, this issue resolves the problem of xenophobia and racism. And after 1968, there never was any xenophobia or racism ever again, because we learnt a valuable lesson from Tiny Titans 18. Red Guardian is very flat in this. Barely a character. I won't repeat too much of what I said in yesterday's video, but following this issue, Red Guardian doesn't get much play for a while. But in the 80s, he starts surfacing again as the go-to Russian hero whenever they need to show a hero active in Russia. I think I first saw him in an issue of Suicide Squad when they break one of their members out of a gulag. You see, Red Guardian has been called in to deal with that, but he doesn't get there in time to stop things. Not long after that, he gets a redesign and joins the Tiny Titans for a sizable stint in the early 90s. And thus, Tiny Titans Detroit was born. Even after that, he maintained some presence as a friend and ally to the team. I won't get into the misery John Jeffries hands them though. This isn't a great story. The framework is there, and what this is perfect as, or would be perfect as, will be the blueprint for an episode of a Tiny Titans cartoon or something. The story is there. You've got all your ingredients and ideas. They weren't executed as well as they should have been, but now is your chance to improve on that and use this as the foundation for a better version of this story. Nowadays, though, cartoons aren't like that. Cartoons, they might have all the characters from this issue in them, but they are not based on comics. They are made by resentful man-children and crazy feminists to be as loud and abrasive and annoying as they can be. And the tone is that they constantly hate you. The stupidest thing is that Batroc, he defeats the Tiny Titans. He has no powers of his own. He is a very talented thief, but he has no powers. And he beats them all one-on-one, even the ones with powers like the flask that should present an obstacle for him. As you saw, this set of pages is loose, and most of this issue is falling to pieces, just like I predicted it would a couple of months ago when I had this on a haul video. Robert fights Batroc, a fight for the ages. And reading this, I got a laugh out of Red Guardian, how he appears to be doing nothing. He's not helping anyone. He's just standing, watching them be defeated. But then they worked it into the story and said that he helped them off panel. And that's not funny. The ending of this is that teamwork is good. And then Robert beats Batroc in a sequence that surely belonged to Red Guardian. Red Guardian was built up to have the victory. He deserved to be the one to clobber Batroc here. And in the end, the moral is that we shouldn't judge others based on their country or their ideologies. So then the Russian prick goes back to communist Russia to drink his vodka and write a manifesto. So to be frank, this issue isn't very good, but it's entertaining and readable. It is bad in places, and my copy is falling apart. I would imagine most copies of this are like that. Reviewing this was actually a nightmare. I couldn't turn a page without something falling out or tearing. But we should be thankful that it got rid of racism for us. How can I not give a comic 7 thumbs up for that?